The terrifying case of Katherine Knight, Australia's most infamous female killer. In the quiet rural town of Aberdeen, New South Wales, life once moved at an unhurried pace. Nestled among rolling green fields and a working-class community centered around the local abattoir, it was the kind of place where neighbors greeted each other in the street and gossip traveled faster than the wind. But in early 2000, this small town would be shaken to its core by a crime so gruesome, so beyond comprehension, that its memory still casts a shadow more than 2 decades later. This is the story of Katherine Knight, the first woman in Australia to be sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. Her crime wasn't just murder. It was a display of brutality and desecration that would horrify an entire nation and scar the community of Aberdeen forever. Katherine Knight was born on October 24, 1955, into a family marked by chaos and violence. Her mother, Barbara, had left her first husband to be with Katherine's father, Ken Knight, creating a scandal in their small rural town. Katherine was one of several children in a blended family where tempers often flared and conflict was constant. The home she grew up in was far from stable. Katherine's father was a violent man, prone to drunken rages. He openly expressed his hatred of women, and Barbara would often confide in her children about the abuse she suffered. This early exposure to violence and dysfunction would shape Katherine in ways that would become disturbingly clear in adulthood. At school, Katherine struggled both academically and socially. She had a quick temper and was prone to explosive outbursts when she felt slighted. However, she also had an odd duality to her personality. She could be sweet and charming one moment, then turn aggressive without warning. Her classmates learned to keep their distance. Teachers would later recall her as a student who could excel when she wanted to but who seemed to thrive more on intimidation than learning. As a teenager, Katherine began working at the local abattoir, a slaughterhouse that processed livestock for meat. While many found the work brutal and difficult, Katherine excelled at it. She not only learned how to skillfully butcher animals but took pride in her ability to wield and sharpen knives. Over time, she collected her own set of blades, which she hung over her bed, an ominous display that would later take on a sinister significance. Her relationships with men followed a familiar pattern: intense passion followed by violent conflict. Her first marriage, to David Kellett in 1974, was marked by volatility from the very beginning. On their wedding night, Katherine tried to strangle David because he fell asleep after only having intercourse 3 times. Over the years, her violence escalated. She once hit him in the head with a frying pan and even slashed his clothing in a fit of rage. Eventually, the relationship ended, but not before leaving deep psychological scars. In subsequent relationships, Katherine's temper and possessiveness only grew. She stabbed one partner in the stomach, slashed another's face, and in one chilling incident, placed her infant daughter on train tracks, though the baby was rescued before any harm came to her. Despite these red flags, Katherine always managed to find another partner. Her charm could be disarming, and she often used it to mask the volatility that lay beneath. By the time she met John Price, known affectionately as Pricey, Katherine was in her mid-40s. Price was a father of 3, well-liked in the community, and known for his easygoing nature. He worked as a miner and was described by friends as a man who enjoyed a beer after work and doted on his children. Price was aware of Katherine's reputation, but like others before him, he believed he could handle her. At first, their relationship was passionate and intense. But over time, Price saw the same disturbing patterns emerge. Katherine's obsession with knives remained constant. Above her bed hung an ever-growing collection of blades, each meticulously cleaned and sharpened. Friends warned Price about her, and he himself would later tell co-workers that she had threatened him with those very knives. Still, he stayed, perhaps out of love, perhaps out of fear. By early 2000, their relationship had reached its breaking point. Price ended things and asked Katherine to leave his home. She moved into her own place, but the separation only seemed to deepen her anger. In the weeks that followed, Katherine plotted her revenge. She bought black lingerie, an ominous choice given what was to come, and recorded a video of herself making a will, a sign that she expected something final to happen. On February 29, 2000, Katherine went to Price's house when he was not home. She let herself in, watched TV, and took a shower, waiting for him to return. That evening, Price came home, and while there was tension, they shared dinner together. Later, they were intimate before Price fell asleep in his bed. Katherine, however, was not done. Sometime in the early morning hours, Katherine retrieved one of her knives. She stood over Price as he slept and began stabbing him with a frenzy fueled by rage. Price awoke and tried to escape, but Katherine pursued him through the house, delivering a total of 37 stab wounds. Blood evidence later showed that he had made it to the front door before collapsing. He died from massive blood loss, his body mutilated in a way that shocked even seasoned investigators. What Katherine did next defies comprehension. Using her butchering skills, she skinned Price's body with surgical precision. The entire skin was removed in one piece, including his face, and hung from a meat hook in the living room. In the kitchen, she prepared a grotesque meal, cooking parts of his flesh alongside vegetables and gravy. Two place settings were arranged on the dining table, each accompanied by a note bearing the name of one of Price's children. Police would later find additional body parts simmering in a pot on the stove. The next morning, concerned co-workers called the police when Price failed to show up for work. Officers arrived to a scene of pure horror. One officer would later describe it as the most gruesome thing I've ever seen in my career. They found Katherine unconscious in the bedroom, having taken pills in what appeared to be a staged suicide attempt. She survived and was taken into custody. The trial that followed captured national attention. The evidence against Katherine was overwhelming: forensic analysis, eyewitness accounts of her threats, and the sheer brutality of the crime left little room for doubt. Katherine pleaded not guilty, claiming she had no memory of the events. But the jury was unconvinced. After just 5 hours of deliberation, they returned a guilty verdict. The judge sentenced her to life imprisonment without the possibility of parole, stating that her crime was so heinous that she should never be released. Today, Katherine Knight remains in Silverwater Women's Correctional Center. To this day, she maintains she cannot recall the murder. Her cell is small, the walls bare, and the woman who once hung knives above her bed now has no sharp objects at all. The house in Aberdeen still stands, though many locals avoid it, and the crime's memory lingers in whispered conversations. The story of Katherine Knight is more than just a true crime tale. It is a reminder that evil can wear many faces, sometimes smiling, sometimes loving, until one day it reveals itself in the most shocking way imaginable. For the people of Aberdeen, the Black Knight, as she is sometimes called, will forever be a specter of what lies beneath the surface of human nature.